Hey everybody, it's Book of Catherine. I hope you're doing well. So I just wanted to talk to you today about domestic violence. And that sounds like a really all of a sudden subject, but I think it's important. I've been watching a lot of Dr. Phil because, my health is tanked. So we've started wood fires again, and that's really been helping. I did do a walk, which is really good. But because I've been watching Dr. Phil, and I know I've been saying like this, he does two things. Like one, he does all BASF, which is IG Farben, and companies that push Nazi, like have roots in the concentration camps from World War II Germany. So all the companies that ran labor camps from the concentration camps in Germany, those are the same ones of all the cosmetic projects that he pushes. So, like, it's not, like, it's a double-edged sword, like, some of the stuff that he pushes. So there's, like, and I try to point that out, but some of the things that he does is, provides good information. So, like, I just shared a clip that he did on keeping things close to the vest, which is absolutely important. A girl was going to be in a company. She was going to go for a job up 6 floors up. It was going to give her a $15,000 a year bump in salary, and it was going to be less work for her. She was highly qualified for the job, but what did she do? She told all the girls in the office about it. I was just like, oh, here it comes. She told all the girls about it and how she was going to apply on Friday at 3 p.m. And I was just like, what? And because she believes everyone's good, everyone's her friend, everyone loves her, right? And of course, no. One of the girls went and applied for it on Thursday at noon and got the job and took it from her and comes back and says, oh, I won't take the job if you don't want me to. And of course, the girl is nice and doesn't say that. You know what I mean? And really, which one of you would say, no, don't take it, right? No, because a kind of person that tells everybody their business is not the kind of person that will all of a sudden have a backbone and say, no, don't take it. They know that that kind of person will back down and say, oh, no, I want to be nice. Because it's never, so... that's a really important clip. You never, ever, ever tell people your plans. If there's something you're really excited about and you know that it's job opening that you want and you're scared somebody else can get it, don't tell anybody about it. Like, don't tell anybody about it. Like, don't do that. Like, you're supposed to keep those kind of things that are important to you. You tell everybody about it after you get it. That sort of thing. So those sort of clips are really important. So I try to share the things that are good and I try to point out the things that are bad. And same thing today, and same thing with domestic violence. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. And another channel does that as well. And I want to point that out. Jesse Lee Peterson, I talk about, sometimes I say good things and then I say bad things about Jesse Lee Peterson. And that happens because we're all humans. There are things we agree and we disagree. And we're in this kind of mob mentality where we think everyone has to either be a good channel or everyone has to be a bad channel. That's not the way humanity is. Like humanity, we're supposed to be like when you meet somebody, no one agrees and disagrees. Like nobody agrees with everybody 100%. We're all very, very individuals. We all are an individual. And so individuals are not going to be the same. We're not all going to be the same. We're all going to have differing opinions. And so my channel, I'm very, very honest. And so I agree and I disagree with different individuals. And the problem is a lot of people are individuals out there that are paid. And so I have a lot of differing opinions because they go put out wisdom, but then they put out the paid stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, here's the paid stuff, right? Well, Jesse Lee Peterson, I don't think his stuff is paid. I think he's independent. But he has stuff that's really, really good. But then he has stuff I seriously disagree with, like seriously disagree with. For example, he has rules that, in my personal opinion, I think that work for his life, his experience, for who he is as an individual. It works for him, for what he's looking for as a person, as an individual. These are his needs for his individualism, right? But that doesn't fit for everybody. There's so many different individuals and different individual backgrounds. For example, he says, don't marry an educated woman. And I'm like, well, I'm an educated woman, and that has completely helped my husband in his job. Completely. That's all I have left as my body's broken down. I have injuries in every section of my spine. All I have left is my mind. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what do you mean not an educated woman? Are you saying women shouldn't learn to read and write? Like, is that really what you mean? Do you know what I mean? And I have a feeling what he means is like, a woman who doesn't see you as an equal. A woman who thinks that you should be below her. I think that's what he's trying to say from everything I've heard him say. I think he's trying to say, don't marry a woman who thinks that you should serve her. that sees you as master servant, because there is education out there. A lot of it is UNESCO teaching, which teaches that a man should be below a woman, and it should be servant, master servant. And you should marry a woman who sees you as equal, you know, like this. And I've certainly like come along and in equality sees the differences. Like, I certainly recognize now my husband has physical strength that I don't. I recognize that. I also recognize, I'm humble enough to recognize my strengths and weaknesses, and I'm humble enough to see his strengths and weaknesses and see how we match. Like, that's, I'm still educated, you know what I mean? I just don't see my husband as less than me. Does that make sense? But one of the things that he says that I really agree with that goes along with domestic violence, and he really opened my mind to this, is which where I really disagree with Dr. Phil on, is domestic violence. When people call into Jesse Lee Peterson's channel, you hear a lot of kids calling in and saying, I can't leave my house. I cannot leave my parents' house because my mom is being beaten by my dad. They get into fights and he gets beaten by my dad. And you know what Jesse Lee Peterson says? He's like, that's your mom's choice. That's not your fault. That's your mom's choice. They're both grown adults. They're both grown adults. And it just shoves me out. And I'm like, it's almost empowering as a woman to hear that. He's the only one that treats women like they're not children. Dr. Phil, on the other hand, I was just watching a clip, and what does Robin say? She's like, oh dear, when I listen to you talk, I just want to scoop you up, and I just want to take you, I want to run out of here, and I want to take you and just take you away from him, and just keep you away from him forever. Do you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of a woman talking to another woman, an adult woman, like she's a baby. She wants to wrap her up in swaddling cloths and rescue her away. I was trying to think of an analogy, and you know what popped into my head now that we're reading stuff from it? It popped in my head just because we were watching the movie. We were just doing stuff on prophets. It made me think of the thing of Moses, of how to rescue the baby Moses, they had to stick him in a little thing and float him down the river because he's helpless. And so it floated him down the river to get him away from people who were hunting Moses. And so they floated him down the river in this little basket and rescued him away. The mother was like so scared she couldn't protect her baby. So she put him in a basket of sticks and floated him down the river. She got him up, rescued him, floated him down the river, and got him away from the people. Because Moses was a baby, not a grown-ass adult. Excuse my language, but seriously. Jesse Lee Peterson, on the other hand, is like, you women are adults. You have a choice. And you know what? The reason that I know that is, everyone says that women have this disorder in their heads. They have this disorder in their heads, and they get into this PTSD moment, and they start thinking with a man, and they isolate the men, and da-da-da-da. Let me tell you something. Like, there is so much power that you get as someone when you get to be a victim, because everyone feels so bad for you. And there is this thing, this drama triangle, that you get to be a persecutor and a victim and a rescuer. That's what happens when you get into this abusive relationship, is that the two of you are switching in these roles of this drama triangle. There is a huge chemical thing that goes on in your head that's very addicting, and the wife gets to switch between persecutor, rescuer, and victim just as much as the husband gets to. And I grew up in that environment. I grew up in an environment where I was persecutor, rescuer, victim. I was raised in that. And I'll never forget it when I finally I did all this therapy. I was on all these antidepressant meds and everything all through my life until I finally got to this one therapist. And my husband was sitting next to me on the couch, and I was so crumpled up. I was doing this like sound therapy, and I was just so crumpled up. I was so like, I was like this little kid, and I was just so like beaten up from sound. And the therapist was like, have your husband go to the other couch. And we were like, oh, and I remember feeling like this kind of like, where is he going? Like, where's my support system going? And the therapist was like, you're going to have to do this on your own. Like, you're going to have to learn how to, and I was like, I knew enough about codependency to know, like, that's right. Like, codependency isn't good. Like, I know I shouldn't be codependent. Like, I had learned that with my addiction issues and stuff like that. And I was kind of surprised that I had actually felt that when he moved to the couch. I was like, oh no, like I've kind of reversed in my healing. because I thought I'd moved on, but I was like, oh, I've reversed or whatever. And then he was like, you're going to have to do this work on your own. And then as he did the work, he talked about my parents, and he said, like, you have holes in your heart. And he started talking about holes in my heart. And he started talking about the role of your parent in your heart. The role of, you have a hole in your heart for your father, and you have a hole in your heart for your mother. And I said to him, yes, I know about that. And I know my parents don't fulfill those roles. And I know that those holes are there and they're empty. Like, my parents don't fill those holes. Like, I've accepted that I don't have a mother, and I've accepted that I don't have a father. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, yes, so you step in to those holes. You step in and you parent yourself. And I'll never forget what I felt in that moment. Do you want to know what I felt in that moment? I felt like, yeah. Like, yeah. Like, no. No, I don't want to parent myself. No, I don't want to. I don't want to parent myself. That's not fair. That's not fair. I don't want to parent myself. I don't want to do it. And I suddenly knew that that meant that I wouldn't be able to claim that I was a victim anymore. I wouldn't be able to say, I don't have a mother. I wouldn't be able to say, I don't have a father. I wouldn't be able to say, like, I have a hole in my heart. I wouldn't be able to say that anymore. I wouldn't be able to say that anymore. That would be, I don't need them anymore. That would mean that I am whole. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be independent. And essentially he was saying, you got to grow up. But it was too late. He'd already told me how. And I knew it. I was just like, I have to go forward. I can't be this little squished thing anymore. I'm not functioning in life. And that's what he taught me to do. He taught me how to step in and parent myself. And that's why you can see me walking on the rail trail, talking about my mother, doing those things about me, and you can see it just doesn't affect me. Like, I've let go and it doesn't hurt the heart because I've parented myself. I have strength from another place. I have love from another place, and I've loved myself. I filled in and I parent myself. I am my own father. I am my own mother. I am my own thing. And I do have a separate love source. Do you know what I mean? I do. I know I'm loved. I know I'm loved. I know that, you know, I know I'm loved. And I don't need them to tell me I'm loved. I'm loved. I'm enough. And every woman can do that. Every woman can do that, just like a man can do that. Every adult woman can do that. They're adults. And that's what I don't like about the Dr. Phil show, is that they treat women like they're infants. They treat women, they go after all these little kids that are like, oh, you're 12-year-olds. Oh, you have the mind of a 12-year-old. Oh, you're immature. Oh, you're immature. But suddenly, if a woman's beaten or something like that, they suddenly never say you're immature. They never say that. They never say you're being immature. You're not taking care of yourself. You need to start parenting yourself. You're getting off on the drama of him beating you because then you can be a victim. You love it when he comes back and all the ways he has to show you and make up for it. You love that. You love that he has to come back and say sorry. You really make him pay for it. All the begging afterwards. There is a drama triangle and they are both willingly participating, and she can at any time. He does not have, and you hear the men say it sometimes. They're like, I am not shackling her. I tell her to leave all the time. And no one in the audience hears it. No one in the audience hears it. We are in the United States of America. These men do not have shackles on these women's ankles. And we act like they do. We act like these men have shackled up these women with these ankle bracelets and have a monitor on them. And we never hold the woman to account. Switch it. Switch it. You watch the shows where the women are abusing the husband, and all of a sudden, you turn to the man and just say, stand up, man, be your own man. All of a sudden, the man has to be an adult. Isn't that interesting? Do they go after the woman and say, you're shackling him? And, oh, man, we just want to take you away and rescue you? Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no. All of a sudden, the man's being immature and he needs to stand up for himself and learn how to be an adult. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting that Robin's thing works with Isn't it interesting that Robin's thing works with the UN so much, that the UN loves her so much? Now, here's the one little thing that you want to know. If you're like doubting me right now, you think that they're so interested in women and saving women and making them all better, then you tell me that why have all the women's shelters closed? Huh? You want to tell me that? When I was growing up, I used to volunteer for women's shelters. Oh, yeah, honey. I volunteered and I worked with women's shelters. I was there. Used to be amazing, calm, peaceful places for women to get away. No one could find them. Oh, now? All the money goes towards World Wildlife Federation and Sierra Club and Red Cross, all the stuff that's money laundering operations. Oh, give to Bermuda where all the big fancy castles are, the monarchies of the world. That's where all these, when they do big fashion parties and they have big Versace runway or whatever, and afterwards everyone's toasting. Where do all of these amazing fundraisers and all the fundraising money that they do you think they're going towards women's shelters or opioid clinics or anything that's helping the weak get strong? For the people that try to run away, is there any money going towards that? You check into that, honey. You check into how much UN money is actually going towards women's shelters. Then you check it, honey. Then you check it. You go ahead and see. I always tell you there's a difference between words and action. Words and action. Check the action on the ground. Oh, shockingly, as they all say there for women's rights, oh, in the last 30 years, all the women's shelters have disappeared. How is that possible? Could it be that as Sharia explodes and all of a sudden your 10 and 11-year-old boys are dating your 10 and 11-year-old girls, suddenly at the age they're all supposed to be learning socialization, all the girls are supposed to be getting together and learning how to socialize with girls, and all the boys are supposed to be getting together and socializing with boys, suddenly the world of America, where they used to group together as girls and group together as boys as age 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and then we used to date in junior high school. No. You're taking on the patterns of third world countries where Sharia goes, because that's the age they marry at. They marry girls off at age 8, 9, 10, and 11. That's child marriage. That's the influence of Islam, because UNESCO is run by Islam and UNESCO runs the schools. And you're just wondering, you put them on to YouTube where the advertisers are all Islam, because Islam has all that oil wealth and it's running all those things, and you put them onto YouTube and they're watching YouTube, and all YouTube has is boys and girls from the very early age. Do they have boys playing with boys and girls playing with girls on YouTube when they advertise buying and consumerism? Oh no, they have boys and girls playing house at the very earliest ages, and boys and girls playing house all the time. That's all it ever is. Does it teach them how to have healthy relationships or anything like that? Oh, no, honey. No. Oh, yeah. And then it shames them. Oh, if they have a movie with a healthy romantic kiss or anything like that, they call it weird. They call it weird. They don't show any families getting together. So it's like, get together but break up. Get together but break up. And then they tell you that a form of birth control is abortion. They don't tell you that if you have an abortion, one abortion leads to a 50% chance of dying during maternity. A 50% chance of dying during a normal birth. So America suddenly has an astronomical, the very top of first world countries, we have the leading rate of maternal deaths. And everyone's like, why do we suddenly have the #1 rate of maternal deaths? And I'm like, maybe it's because you suddenly started teaching in our schools, in UNESCO schools, abortion as a form of birth control. Not condoms, not birth control, not abstinence, none of that. No. They started teaching abortion, the thing that leads to maternal death. Nazism. I'm just saying, domestic violence. Woman, you are strong. You are an individual. You are powerful. You can do it. In that way, I'm starting to agree with Jesse Lee Peterson. He's the first one that think women are adults and should be treated just as equally as men. He does think created equal in that respect. That's why his channel is just weird. He's like, don't marry an educated woman. But then when it comes to domestic violence, he's like, they're equal. They're two adults. treat them like equals. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand how it, but that's the thing. Some things he also says that there, I don't know. He also does something else I agree with, which is, he doesn't accept that just a party label means you're good or evil. He's like, Democrat doesn't mean evil. GOP doesn't mean evil. He's like, what a person's actions define are evil. So like the lynching was evil. Like you can't just say a party's evil. If someone does a lynching, that's evil. You know what I mean? Like when you see lynching anywhere, it's evil. And I'm like, yeah, watch the actions on the ground. Like Nazism, evil. This is evil. Look for trends of evil. Isn't it interesting that the GOP doesn't tell us at all, hey, we didn't vote for this or we didn't create this. They don't try to expose the Democrats. Why is it Dinesh D'Souza out there screaming all that? But the GOP, the big never Trumpers, they never say anything. They could run with that and like win all of America by exposing the Democrats, but they don't. Isn't that interesting? So you notice in all my Clean the GOP videos, when I'm saying Republicans don't have money, I am not referring to congressmen. I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to people in the party that have been attacked by the FBI for so many years. I'm referring to the actual people on the ground. They don't have money. They've been sucked dry. No American has money. You know, unless, you know, you're a fashion designer. They're doing great, you know. All right. I love you guys so much. I hope that helps somewhat clear up something. We women are adults. We have a lot of power. It was really hard for me to realize, like, let me give you a quick example. When I owned a business, when I had a storefront, whatever. I'll do that in a different thing. I just see things differently now, how I would have run my storefront differently now as a powerful, independent woman. I had 2 different landowners. One landowner saw me as created equal. Then I got another landowner and they didn't. They saw me as master servant. And I was so shocked by it that I went like this when I got the new landowner. Like I immediately kind of scrunched. And today I wouldn't have. Today, if they had come sweeping into my business and started like da 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 da, in that new mindset, I would have risen up and been like, no. And I would have faced on and been like, created equal. You will treat me as this. I would have risen up instead of just shrinking and accepting the role they saw me as. I wouldn't do that again today. And they do that. It's like bullies when they strike you or whatever. If you rise up and be like, oh no, I'm your equal, they do. They respect that. Boss people respect that. If they come down on you like a bully, but you rise up and you go, I'm one of you. I'm equal with you. Hello, I'm human. Da-da-da. They see that and it kind of snaps them out of it. And then they start treating you like an equal. And I didn't have that skill back then. Like I learned it, and then I got it, and it made me much more powerful. And that's when I got a lot more money. So it's just a skill to learn. So, and that's why I say nice girls don't get the corner office. That's something to read. It really teaches you a lot about that. So anyway, I love you guys so much. I hope that helps with domestic violence victims, because I think if Dr. Phil treated women more like that on that stage, they would get through to them more. Instead, they feed into this thing that the women love, be a little baby, be a little baby. Well, that's exactly how the husband treats them, like a little baby, like a little baby. Oh, you're like a little baby. Oh, you're like a little baby. That's all you're worth. You're just a little baby. And the women just go, oh, I'm in a little cocoon. And if you speak to the woman, say, you know, hey, this is who you are. You know, let's get real. This is what you're doing. They'd rescue a lot more women. A lot more women. Just be like, look, this is what you're doing to kids. This is what you're doing to this. This is what you're doing to this. And that's going to get you in trouble with the law. You better snap out of it. They'd get a lot further. Believe you me. Honestly. Treat them like equals. Created equal. They both have choices. They're not, no one has slave chains on them there. This whole thing of psychology, honestly. All right. I love you guys so much. Bye. Donate down below, please. And then these videos, I hope they help. And yeah, I love you guys. Oh, and subscribe. Yes, subscribe to stay updated. All right.